it's the little bit of effort. The greatest opponent that you will have in the startup battlefield is yourself. If you start doubting yourself, then just go find yourself a freaking job.
Welcome to Hustle Share, the podcast that features the daily grinds of unique hustlers around the world to show not our differences, but that our hustles are very much alike. Now here's your host, Ronster Bae-Pyong.
Welcome to episode 36 of the Hustle Share podcast. My name is Ronster, and I'm your host. And this episode is brought to you by Payroll Hero, a time, attendance, scheduling, HR, and payroll solution for Philippine companies. If you're new to the show, welcome, because we're glad to have you here. We're about to wrap up our season because this is our second to the last episode. And for you who don't know what Hustle Share is a podcast that showcases the Filipino talent and the hustles behind it to the world by showcasing the stories and the grind that we do to get that done. But I'd like to give you a heads up because this podcast is filled with adult language. So make sure there's no kids around when you're listening to this. Because today we're going to be showcasing and we'll feature a true blue hustler. And his name is Jonathan De Luzuriaga, the president of the Philippine Software Industry Association and also the CEO of Spring Valley. And today he's going to share with us a ton of learnings. So be ready to take notes because today he's going to share with us the history of the Philippine software industry along with how the BPO industry in the Philippines started out. And with that, he's also going to share how he carved out a career in the BPO industry, being an executive, not just here in the Philippines, but also abroad. Jonathan's also going to talk about his foray into consulting and how he tried out being an entrepreneur early on. Then he's also going to share with us how he ended up being in the software industry, where he did not have any prior experience developing software. But just like a true blue hustler, he found a way to educate himself to be the expert that he is now. And it only gets better because now he's going to share why he created Spring Valley and the stuff that he would like to do in order to replicate Silicon Valley here in the Philippines. And stay tuned till the end because we have a very big surprise of the benefits you can get, like getting 60,000 pesos per founder per month by working in Spring Valley. And as a bonus, JDL also shared so many learnings at the end of this episode that will just blow your brains out and inspire you on your hustle. So if you're ready to learn the hustle of creating Silicon Valley in the Philippines, let's begin this episode right now. Welcome to the latest episode of the Hustle Share podcast. Today is a special day because we're guesting someone who a lot of people should know, but he's just creeping into the background somehow. But god damn it, this guy is an OG and it's a forefather that a lot of people should know. And I don't know how to properly introduce you because you're wearing so many hats, right?
Yep.
But I'll just say it in the best way I can. So today we have Mr. Jonathan De Luzuriaga, correct?
That's correct.
Of the president of IBPAP and Spring Valley.
Sorry, not IBPAP.
Not IBPAP.
PSIA.
PSIA.
Yep.
There you go. PSIA and Spring Valley.
And NICP.
And ISCP. So again, there's so many things, right? I don't know where to start, but I'll let you introduce yourself in briefly. Jonathan, what's your hustle?
So as you mentioned, I wear several hats, right? My
Right.
main hustle is actually Spring Valley,
Okay.
which is the, attempting to be the Silicon Valley of the Philippines.
Wow, that's a big thing that you wanted to do.
Yep, I think bigger than I ever imagined it to be. But I also wear the hat of this is my fifth year as the
Fifth
president
year.
of the Philippine Software Industry Association.
Got it. And before we started this, I've always wanted to be part of PSIA. And
You will be after this
Oh,
one.
there you go. Thank you. Finally. Because even in my first startup, I always see startups getting inducted. And there's a side of me, I'm just going to come clean. I'm jealous. Like, how the hell did they get there? And I didn't know. And especially IBPAP and all that.
Right.
This is a big organization to be part of. And then if you're not in it, you're in the outside looking in, right? You're missing out on a lot. Right, just because this being part of these organizations opens up so much business and opportunities for you.
It does. Right. It a little bit on the history of all the industry associations.
Right. Yes.
If I may.
Yes.
So PSIA is probably the oldest one. So it's about we're on our 31st year.
Wow.
Okay.
That's as old as me, literally.
This industry grew because of fear. Because of the Y2K scare. So there was a lot of Filipino companies.
In the 80s, people already were scared of the... Wow, okay.
So, there were a semblance of software development companies in the Philippines. As you know, we produce a lot of very good software developers.
Yes.
World class.
Yes.
So all of these small companies decided to band together and put up the Philippine Software Association.
Like the Avengers.
Which is now the PSIA.
Right.
And then sometime in 2004, it was actually on the promptings of government that we come up with a banner association because we're Filipinos, right? We have an association for everything. So there's the Animation Council, there's the
everything.
Yep,
K-pop
everything.
association or whatever.
So even then, there were several segments representing the contact center space. Not like now we're in the CCAP, the Contact Center Association of the Philippines. So government approached us individually and said, our head's beginning to spin already in terms of who we're going to support, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you come up with a single united front so that, when we give support, we just give it to this mother association.
And you let them do the work.
Yep. And then it could be cascaded to what we call now the subsector. So IBPAP is the mother association representing the different segments in the IT.
What does IBPAP stand for, just for those listening?
It stands for IT and Business Processing Association of the Philippines.
Yes. So that's a very core thing of what we do. I mean, at the forefront, of course, it's always the business processing that always gets the bigger, because that's the biggest one.
Right.
But IT has so much, potential and proven success. It's just that it's not highlighted out there.
Well, even in my own life, I came from the BPO space. So I joined the bigger ones, Convergys, Teleperformance, ePerformax.
Right. And I'm literally stalking your LinkedIn now.
Yep,
right.
Yep.
And you've ran a lot of big contact centers here.
Too much, in fact.
How did you, just shed some light, because in the early 2000s or even in the 90s, there was no such thing. No. I mean, there was opportunities. We knew that we had the talent. How did this opportunity turn to the behemoth that it is now?
Well, for me personally, during those days, it takes about an hour to explain to your grandmother what a call center was, right? Or is. And I guess it all started with the shared service captives. So there's two sides to the story.
Right.
One is that Citibank was the one who actually pulled the trigger. From Citibank North America, representatives went here and said, "Hey, damn, these guys could actually speak good English, right? So why don't we give them a shot?" So
they started the Big Bang per se.
Yep. And then there's another side to the story wherein Chevron was operating here.
Operating Caltex, for those people who don't know that.
They decided to actually invest in the Philippines in terms of their back office requirements for the rest of the world. So whatever it is that's true, I know the two sides of the story, but when other companies, especially multinationals, started seeing the potential of the Philippines, sometime early 2000, the floodgates were just
boom. That's it.
That's it.
The roof was off. Or the roof was gone.
And then the who's who in the industry started pouring into the Philippines. And, I came in during the time wherein we can't even say to the customer who's in North America where we were. So we had to lie through our teeth in terms of where we were.
Yeah, I remember. I also, in 2007, my first job ever, and that's why I talk like this, was in a call center. I was an agent. And we can never tell where we were.
Right.
Even if there's there's some Filipinoisms that you can say and whatnot. You cannot tell. I remember I even had a fake American name.
Right.
Ron Billups. That's one of my names. That was my name. Yeah.
we all went through that, I
Right.
guess. So, you know if you're talking to an industry veteran, if you've got a fake name
Yep.
sometime in your past, just to hide the fact that you're a Filipino servicing, especially North American clients.
Absolutely.
So now it's a little bit more liberal.
Yep.
You could actually, some of the clients actually insist that it would be Philippine outsourcing partners that service their requirements. So that's and then the floodgates were open.
Right.
Everybody started pouring in. Opportunity. There was no academic discipline, Ron. That was going to prepare you for
It's
a
a
life.
wild west at first.
Right. In fact, me, I actually have a law discipline.
So
I'm
you
not
were
even
in law
technical.
before.
Yep.
How did this happen for you? And then, floodgates are open. Were you at the right place at the right time? What was it? How did you go into the BPO
Very good
thing?
question.
Right.
The direct answer is poverty. Okay, so I ran for a public office somewhere in Laguna.
Got it.
Lost miserably.
Okay.
I was basically more or less disowned by my family business.
Wow.
Because they didn't want me to go into a life of politics.
Got it.
So I had to find a job. In those days, this was late 90s, huh?
Okay.
So there are only two industries that were breathing some signs of life. The
Okay.
ever conservative banking and finance sector.
Yeah.
And it take you about 25
Good
years
luck.
to become president of the bank.
Ladder of all
Right.
ladders are there. Yeah.
And then there's this new phenomenon called the contact centers, right? So I consulted my wife and I said, hey, these are the possible
Paths.
jobs
Yeah.
that I could get into. And my wife said, you know what? You're forgetting one thing. We're classmates in university. And said, what's that got to do with the question?
Yeah.
I know your grades in math. So why don't you just... And anyway, you talk pretty well. So why don't you just go into this contact center space for fear that you might run a bank to the ground, So I started applying. My
Yeah.
first job was actually in Ambergris Solutions, which is now
Amber
Telus.
Grid. Right.
Right. So I
See,
eventually got
that name rings a bell to me, but for the people now who
Right,
they
right.
don't know the history of all these names being
Yep.
acquired and changed.
I think there were only about 3 or 4 real significant players then. So there was
Yeah.
Sykes, who's
Yes.
been around, still around up to now. Then there's Ambergris Solutions, eTelecare,
Yeah.
and then People Support.
People Support, which
Yep.
is now it's some
So
different.
those are the
yeah.
only significant players back then. And I got in through Ambergris Solutions. I was assigned to the Big Blue account, the Dell customer service.
Oh
which is,
shoot, that's big.
Right. So
Right.
I was a supervisor. I was already a manager in a previous life.
Right.
And all of a sudden now we've got, an offer sheet for a supervisor. I got so insulted.
Wow.
Until I saw the second page, which is the compensation package. And I
Boom.
said,
All right. Okay. No problem.
When do I start? Right?
No, and again, let's just call a spade a spade. There's no industry in the Philippines, at least,
Right.
that compensates better than the BPO.
Oh, yeah.
and that's why a lot of people always work there.
We take
right?
care of our own. It gave rise to a lot of other industries.
Right.
HMO coverage wasn't really the norm back then.
Absolutely.
Until it became a standard package for IT BPM
True.
workers. And then, real estate, Makati was practically dead
Yeah.
before the BPO.
Yeah.
BPO
Now look at
came
this.
in, right?
100x from what it was like
Yep.
a decade ago.
Where we are right now used to be a military camp. And now it's
Yes.
peppered with a lot of software
Bustling,
development companies, animation companies, game
True,
development
true.
companies, and of course contact centers. So,
Correct.
that was back in the day when I was still trying to get my feet wet in terms of learning this.
Right.
So I started jumping around. Went into account management, and
Right.
then went into quality assurance and
Right.
stuff. And then finally, I kept on jumping around. That
Mm-hmm.
eventually I caught the eye of BPAP, which is now iBPAP.
BPAP.
So I got called in because they were looking for an executive director for industry affairs. Sounds sexy,
Boom.
right? Right.
But in reality, what were you supposed to do?
You're the industry whipping boy. So,
Okay.
so I got called in. I got berated from head to foot, saying, "Hey, you keep
Right.
on jumping around. You're a disgrace to the industry's attrition rate. But then again, you know everyone, so why don't you run the industry for a
Correct.
change?"
Correct.
So I got in. That was sometime 2008, and then I stayed on until 2010.
Got it.
During that time, we were executing a very specific roadmap called the McKinsey roadmap, which is the strategic roadmap from 2004 all the way to 2010. So I was known as being part of, we were called Team 2010 back
Team
in the day.
2010.
Right.
Wow.
So the goal is very simple. I think it was like 300,000 people employed.
Dude.
Now there's more than 1 billion.
I think
right?
you tripled or quadrupled that. Right.
So and then immediately after, I was actually representing the Philippines in a conference in Mumbai. And a couple of people approached me and said, hey, you Filipinos seem to know this outsourcing gig quite well.
Right.
So, I was trying
They're
to
our direct competitor, per se.
Right. So, and the people who approached me is more or less a good, clear representation of United Colors of Benetton. They came in all shapes and colors, right?
Yeah.
So I was just trying to remain humble because we were performing quite well as a country.
True.
Right. And then they popped the question, hey, would you want to help our African neighbors and brothers?
Wow.
So, without even thinking, I said, yeah, sure. And then they gave me their card, and these people were from the World Bank. So when I left IBPAP, I was actually assigned to Africa in Nairobi to design the Center of Excellence for IT BPO education.
So you still ended up working in a bank eventually.
Yeah, well, that's true. I never thought about it that way. Well, thanks for pointing that out, Ron. So I stayed there for about a year.
Right.
And then when I came back, that's when I discovered the wonderful world of consulting, right?
Got it.
So I became the managing director of Tholons, which, among other things, is
Right.
the entity responsible for the top 100 outsourcing destinations.
Wow.
So they call it the TSGI, Tholon Services Globalization Index. So I ran that for a while, and then I mainstreamed. I joined a local company, ended up putting up the contact center for that local company as well.
Wow.
And then finally I called it quits. I said, I don't want to have anything to do with the IT-enabled services industry, and I just quit. I put up my own, probably my very first hustle.
That's really your own.
Yep. And it's called Kick-Off Indoor Football Center.
Wow.
So I bought very expensive Italian turf, put it inside a warehouse, and I said, I'm just going to be playing football all my life.
But was this your passion ever since?
Well, I've been a football player all my life. It doesn't show now.
Yeah.
But,
football is life, or soccer is life.
Right. So my daughter plays football for Enderon. My son played football for Zobel. My wife kicks the ball around as well, or sometimes kicks me around. So I thought I got it covered, right?
Right.
So then, big mistake. Bet on the wrong sport.
Right.
So
sorry, as far as we're concerned, I mean, the Philippines is basketball country.
It's a basketball country. So I needed to get back and find myself a job, right?
Got it.
So one of the folks that I helped out back in the day is now a big bad IT manager of a UK software development firm. And he hit me through Facebook and he said, sir, we're looking for a country manager. The owner is here. So you wanna get interviewed? And he said, hey, his name's JR. JR, you know damn well I don't know jack shit about software, right? I mean, I could tackle it from a consulting perspective. I could give you IT spend and market share and whatnot. But running a software shop, are you sure? And he answered all in all caps, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you just get your ass over here and get interviewed by my boss? So I went there. Got hired on the spot because the British guy who runs the company said, you got enough technical firepower behind you. What we need is executive leadership. And I said, okay, maybe executive leadership I could give.
Absolutely.
Right? So
being the adult in the room, technically.
Right. So, and then I just became such a voracious learner, right? So I kept on sitting beside my developers asking, what are you doing? Why'd you do that? What's that for? And so on and so forth. So I learned the ropes a little bit.
Yeah.
And then this thing in LinkedIn it's evil, man. I mean, the moment you change status,
boom, all of a sudden everybody knows.
Yep. So when I said country manager of this software company,
right.
The Philippine Software Industry Association executive director then just dropped me a note and said, sir, you're on software. Why don't you join the association? So I said, okay, so how much is membership fee? How do I apply? Blah, blah, blah. So they sent across the application form. The moment I sent it back, they come back to me again and said, perfect timing, sir. It's elections. And I said, don't you guys have a tenure or something? And I said, no, sir, we waived the tenure or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Whatever reason they gave me
Right,
back in the day. So I said, okay, just a board member, right? I didn't know it was a setup. Okay.
What an MO right there.
So come elections,
Right.
I basically was offered the job of being the president of the software industry.
And this,
So
again, you were a juvenile in software
Oh
still,
yeah, I was
right?
wet behind the ears and everything. So
Right.
I got to thank my co-board members for
Right.
actually showing me the ropes.
Absolutely.
So what I had with me then was a very strong relationship with all the different stakeholders, being part of IBPAP and
Right.
being part of the contact center industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I got very good connections in the government, the academe. So
Got it.
that I
The
used it to
network
my
was there
advantage.
already,
Yep,
so it's
the
not
network
that-
is there.
But okay, now Jonathan, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's now do a deep dive on what it was like being president of IBPAP and PSIA. Sorry, PSIA.
PSIA,
Sorry,
yeah.
I keep saying IBPAP. But let's talk about that more after the break. Hey, hustlers, let's talk about something really important real quick. Something that a lot of you I know can relate to, especially if you're running a business. And I'm talking about payroll. You know how hard it is and time consuming this is, especially that you have to do it twice a month. And as a guy who's been running tech startups for over 10 years now, this is something that I did not enjoy doing at all. It's not like it's because I don't like paying my employees. No, but it's already hard looking for funding to fund for your payroll, and then it's so much more harder if you're doing this manually. Luckily, I've found something that I highly recommend that you try, and it's from our friends from Payroll Hero. And here's how Payroll Hero works. They use your employee's face as your primary biometric to avoid buddy punching and ghost employees. So unless your team can figure out a way to swap each other's faces, tracking time and performance will never be your problem again. Payroll Hero is also very consumer friendly because it's also based on web and mobile, and it's also cloud-based, so you never have to worry about your clunky old biometric machines. So now you can automate time, attendance, scheduling, HRIS, and a payroll platform wrapped all in one. We have a very special bonus for you hustlers listening on the Hustle Share podcast. All you need to do is go to www.payrollhero.ph and use the promo code HustleShare to get a 60-day free trial. That's technically 4 payrolls that you can do all for free, so you can see how it works for you. And the beauty about it is there's no upfront payment needed to do this. So never worry about payroll again. With Payroll Hero, optimizing work productivity with happiness. Welcome back from the break. We're still with JDL. I'm not going to fudge your name up, so I'm just going to call you JDL. I think a lot of people murder your name the same way people murder my name all the time.
Yep, get it all the time.
Absolutely. And it's, eventually you get used to it, the people murdering it and whatnot.
Yep.
It's
I'm
like,
not sensitive about it anymore.
Like you just laugh at your own stuff. So, okay, now you're president of PSIA. What was it like? Because again, you said you had good co-board members who helped you out, but I'm pretty sure there was still a lot of element of surprise of what you got yourself into, knowing that you just changed your status on LinkedIn. What were those things that really caught you off guard that when you jumped into this?
Well, the overwhelming strength and value proposition of the Philippines and contact centers.
Got it.
So, our greatest success is also our greatest challenge. Because now, representing a particular segment of the ICT industry, it's very difficult to come out and announce to the entire world, hey, we're not just into voice services. We actually have very strong software developers and software engineers in the country.
Got it.
So, and then another challenge was that almost a huge chunk, and when I say a huge chunk, more
Right.
than 95%
Right.
is actually just doing services.
Correct.
So we're doing a lot of cool shit for a lot of people, but
We
never
sell it
for ourselves.
Correct.
So one of the fundamental changes that we did when I took over the position was to change the scope of the PSIA to not only represent services, but also to create products.
Yes.
Right, getting high on our own supply. That's
Yeah.
basically how I would like to
there you go.
phrase it. Right.
Yep.
So these are some of the things that, that played around my mind. And you know what? I already have the title, right? So it's in my resume.
Yeah.
Doesn't pay jack shit, but it's sexy.
Right.
It gives you a lot of. It opens a lot of doors too.
Correct.
I have to admit. But then, I was thinking, should I just go on stage? And I'm gifted with the gift of gab. I could talk to anyone, anytime, anywhere. I could put on a good show.
Right.
I've been acting since I was in third grade. So stretch it out a little bit, right?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I said, maybe should I just charge the stage and do a good song and dance, or do I actually leverage the position to create something significant for my country?
Absolutely.
So
and not be an ego booster just for you because I'm president and this is who I am.
Right.
Because that can be a tendency I've seen a lot of people do too. All right, you fuck with your title, but you don't pay it forward, and whatnot. But you took the brevity to really like, all right, I'm gonna live up to what this means.
Right.
And how did you do that?
So over caffeine and nicotine,
there you go.
Thought popped into my mind, and I said, okay, what are the problems? Think like a startup, right? What problems are you really trying to solve? There's so many. Ron. So risk aversion of the Filipinos. You're talking about our inclination towards services.
Yes.
We are all hotwired for employment. Come on, even the way we talk to our kids, we basically say, "Hey, study hard so you could get a job." So
not as an entrepreneur.
I'm even asking all the teachers, and hopefully this podcast is going to help spread the word around.
Yes.
Maybe you could change it to pangkabuhayan instead of trabaho. Work, study hard, work hard as a student so that you could find a means of livelihood.
But it's hard because it wasn't ingrained with us from back in the colonial system. And it's just we got passed down from generation to generation.
400 years of Spanish rule, 50 years of under the Americans, a handful of years under the Japanese, will make us a very submissive culture.
And now we're getting another dose of that a little bit with the Chinese a little bit, right?
I was hoping I wouldn't go there, but that's true.
And then we are bending over backwards again and whatnot. Right?
Yep. I'm totally disgusted with it actually. But anyway, going back. So I started lining up all of these issues, and I said, holy crap, maybe if I put up a Silicon Valley equivalent in the Philippines, that's going to solve a lot of these problems.
True.
So that's when I started, conceptualizing the concept of what is now known as Spring Valley.
Spring Valley. Now, again, I'll tell you as it is, just knowing what you're telling me now. Dude, this is a big thing you're trying to do, and it's hard. Well, but I like that you're doing it because not a lot of people always in this, especially in the startup community, is like, how can the startup ecosystem be like Silicon Valley or be like Singapore, whatever, blah blah blah. But nobody's actually stepped up and did something. You're here doing something, right? And what's the vision for Spring Valley?
So it's really going to be a venture builder approach.
Got it.
Because we know that the startup ecosystem is going to be lacking in terms of a lot of moving parts, right? So, worst case is you got a startup that's all hackers. Nobody knows how to hustle. Nobody knows how to, address the UI UX angle. Nobody knows how to build the business model.
Correct.
But they know how to build shit. So, the concept is really to come up with a venue wherein everyone from the 7,400 plus islands, hopefully none of these islands get stolen from us, would converge and create the template.
Yes.
So, and then once you've got the formula and the template working, then you could replicate it everywhere else in the country. That's the basic underlying concept. So,
and as a people, we're also inclined to offer our services and our stuff anyway. So by teaming up with people that compensate for our weaknesses, now you can build something up under your guidance. Is that it?
That's correct. That's correct. Well, actually not under my guidance, but under the guidance of all the stakeholders.
Got it.
Because everybody's doing their own little thing. Right? And we're not creating enough noise.
True.
So hopefully if everyone's going to be facing in the right direction, even for a short moment of time, we could create that amount of noise that would, invite get the attention of the VCs, and,
Right.
all the other strategic partners that are just floating around there.
Right.
Hey, let's face it, money would still go to Singapore, or Malaysia,
Yeah.
or Indonesia first before it actually comes here.
Correct.
It's changing a little bit now, but
There's more wins happening, at least in the
Right,
last
right.
24 months. There's
And-
more wins. The coins.phs.
Right,
Just recently, in the episode before this, we talked to SCI. They got invested on by Cebuana. Now even corporates are even investing in startups.
I hate to
Right.
call this out, Bud, but you're part of the success stories too. So one of your hustles actually paid off quite well.
No,
So-
thank you. And that's the reason why I'm doing this is because I want more people I just don't want to be the outlier. I
That's
want
correct.
this to
Yeah.
be to create that momentum effect. And the reason why this podcast exists is because I want to help out that, hey, you know what? There's other people that have been there, done that, have the same mindset that they want to pay it forward.
Right.
But I just can't do it in a one-to-one method, and that's why this podcast exists.
So to my point exactly, I think what you're doing here is a good thing.
Thank you,
Because
thank
it basically spreads the word around.
Right.
There's more to the Philippines.
We can fucking do it.
right.
And there's been good work already that's been out there. We just gotta be mayabang about it too.
True.
Right?
And I think a certain level of patriotism is also
Yes.
needed.
Not just apathy.
You walk the sacred halls of all the big tech companies,
Yeah.
and it won't come as a surprise that there's going to be a lot of Filipinos there,
True.
right? But when are we going to experience our own social media platform,
Our own Facebook, our
right,
own whatever.
right?
And you said it. You said it right. If that number is 95%, because we're all doing fucking services,
That's correct.
right? We're always selling our soul.
I'll share with you one more thing. So I got a lot of friends in the industry, right?
Right.
Some of them thought that I was going through a very bad patch of a midlife crisis when I started telling people that I'm going to be building the Silicon Valley of the Philippines. So
Yeah.
I knew for a fact that there's going to be some attrition in terms of my
course.
friends.
Yeah, right.
So some of them were thinking, Jesus Christ, JDL's
Went
lost
cuckoo.
his marbles. Yeah.
Right.
But they're coming to the fold now.
Nice.
I got a very nice proof of concept that's going on in
Right.
in copies. It's a very
Why copies, by the way?
so I basically had a 3-point selection criteria,
Okay.
right? So number 1, no politics. My middle name's Defensor. Okay, I've lived as a part of a political clan
Okay.
since I was born.
Okay.
So, but I'm not necessarily a big fan of it.
Okay.
Right. So no politics because I don't want to go through the same courtship every 4 years or 6 years. Right. So, second is that there has to be a values match with my initial partners.
Got it.
And then the third one is if nobody believes in my BS, then we got to take out loans. And apparently the only real collateral in the Philippines is what? Land. So the people that I'm going to be running with should have lots of land. So I found that group in Capiz.
Copies.
So I said, okay, we'll start it here.
Okay.
If I could transform Rojas is known as a seafood capital of the Philippines.
Right. Holy shit. They have the
Right.
best food. One of the
So-
best food. Holy shit. Just maybe you talking about it makes me hungry now.
So now, if I could basically trigger the transition from seafood to software,
Seafood to software. I love that.
so and if it works, then I'm going to get the attention that the initiative is really wanting, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we are right now. So thank goodness that there's a lot of support coming from government and industry
Right.
friends. Joey Gurango's company Servio is already there.
Yep.
ePerformax Contact Center is already. I think they've got more than 700 people now.
Oh, wow.
Doing work for PayPal. I think So
Holy shit. Wow.
So the landscape's changing, and if
Right.
you go to provincial areas, you could really see the ripple effect
Right.
of an industry such as the IT BPM. When they come in, everything else changes.
Correct.
The lifestyle, the expectations, the mindset, right? So, and apparently, the entire Philippines, for that matter, having a very young workforce,
Right.
the IT BPM industry is creating jobs that they actually like.
Absolutely.
Right.
And
So-
also educating them on things that are normal. Because without this, the normal opportunities that the BPO industry provides,
Right.
you're gonna be put in back. Oh, you need to be a teacher. You need to be an engineer.
Right. Right.
Those basic things that you see courses. It's a straight path.
Right.
Your whole life's already decided just because of the lack of opportunities you have. With the BPO,
I think Jokoy the comedian was talking about that. One of his Netflix
yes,
specials,
Jose.
right? Yes, Jose.
You will be a nurse and all that, right?
Yeah, but that's pretty much how I envisioned this to be. And apparently, about 2 years ago, this was just a couple of PowerPoint slides.
Yeah.
So now I've got Spring Valley Academy, which is
Wow.
catering, teaching 2D animation to kids, 8
Yep.
years to 16 years old. I've got Spring Valley Arc, which is
Right.
ably supported by the Department of Trade and Industry. So they gave me
Wow.
quite a huge sum of money to buy equipment, which is now known as the Capiz Innovation Center. But
Dude,
it's under
wow.
the brand of Spring Valley Arc, which is Advanced Research and Knowledge Center. One of the things that came out of it is an autonomous water quality monitoring system, which is now apparently
I've heard of this. I just don't know what it was called, but I've heard of this.
so it's called WAQ, WAQ, and we're joining a couple of contests. I don't think I could reveal it yet, but we're
Yeah.
a finalist in one of the more sought after
Oh my God! Congratulations!
projects with the U.S. Department of Defense, or if I'm not
Oh my
mistaken.
goodness!
Yep.
Wow.
So again, and then we've got this little thingamajig here in my hand,
Right,
which
right.
is called the Nexus, which is a Wi-Fi caddy.
Yeah.
So
Out of wood. It's wood. I'll take pictures of this and whatnot.
Yep, I'm taking I'm using indigenous materials to actually create IoT devices and
Dude, that is awesome.
similar stuff. So again, there's a marriage of hardware and software that's happening. I think as Filipinos, with our creativity, we could capitalize on the opportunity coming around. And several things are happening in the world stage as well.
Right.
This thing between U.S. and China is not going to get any
No,
better.
it's gonna get
in the near
uglier
term,
for sure.
right?
Right.
So then again, where are these manufacturing requirements going to come from?
Right.
So that's a golden opportunity for the Philippines.
Absolutely.
Right.
But was it? I mean, you had all that attrition at first. You said. I mean, that challenges up front. What are the other challenges that you experienced just to put it to where it is now? Because I know it's never gonna be a straight line to success. There's gotta be something that really was tough, that really allowed you to turn the corner after you got over that hump.
I mean, Ron, put it this way: I had to sacrifice a lot of things. You need to love something so strong in order for you to stay the course. So it's so much easier for me just to pick up the phone and become managing director of a software company here in Manila, or Cebu, or somewhere else, even outside of the country. But then again, I'm abandoning what I've started, and I'm not just about to just turn my back and run away.
Absolutely.
So there's always the issue of funding.
Right.
There are months that you barely could sleep because you've got people who are counting on you. They're expecting that something's going to come in on the 15th and 30th,
And there's nothing yet.
Yep.
Right.
So again, hustle.
Yep.
Hustle, and hustle. You can't be myopic about this entire thing, because if you're just going to focus on one thing, then chances are you're gonna fail. You're
Right.
gonna fail big time. So I don't know. The psychological assessments weren't the norm when I was growing up, but maybe I would have been assessed as having attention deficit disorder,
Yeah.
which works for me now, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I could work on 7 or 8 things at the
Right.
same time, have fun while I'm doing it.
Right. And let it move in parallel.
Yep, and
Right.
move in parallel. Yeah. That's
All right,
correct.
now, JDL, let's take another break. And when we come back now, it's Hustle Share time. And I also want to know what's up next
Yep.
for Spring Valley and what you guys are doing. More of that after the break.
Effective automation is the best way for businesses to stay competitive. And having a chatbot for your business lets you easily automate and optimize sales, marketing, and customer service in the digital age. Chatbot PH will build, train, maintain, and market your chatbot across all messaging platforms. Our team uses the latest AI technologies to enable you to better serve customers 24/7, 365. Set a meeting with us today. Message us now at m.me/chatbotph.
And we're back for the partner part with JDL. We're still talking about his hustle, and I hope this doesn't end soon, but unfortunately, we got to hustle too. But this part, we now talk about the hustle sharing tips. But before we start that, I'm curious now, JDL, what are you up to now? So you said you want to be the venture builder. What are you guys building aside from the things you mentioned earlier? You're about to launch something, aren't you?
Okay, so the entrepreneurial mindset is still not relatively strong, especially in the countryside, right?
Got it.
So they'd rather, most, if not all of our brothers and sisters in the countryside, they're still looking for, traditional jobs, something that's going to give me my predictable 15th and 30th, and so on and so forth. So while we were waiting for the stars to align, we started building our own shit, right?
Okay.
So I got about 11 products. Some of them are very good. Some of them are shitty.
Right.
Doesn't matter. It's there.
Yeah.
It's just
Keep
a matter.
building.
Yep.
Right.
Put it in the freezer. Thaw it out afterwards when you see the market for it. So we built the My Boracay Access. So which is hopefully going to be declared by the task force as official. So hopefully there will come a time that you have to apply for a visa before you go to the beautiful island of Boracay. So we built
to preserve everything that you've done.
So and then we got iProtect, which is, in a nutshell, I'm basically digitizing the security guard's logbook, right?
Wow.
So and then we've got WAC. I mentioned that already. We've got Nexus. And then I built Digital Pilipinas, which is supposed to be a digital recording of all the assets within the Philippines in terms of how much bandwidth you have, how much talent you produce, and so on and so forth. And then OJTPH, which is more or less supported already by Globe. Thank you, Globe.
Nice. Shout out Globe. You're not paying us, but shout out to you.
Hopefully, Globe gives us something for Hustle Share.
There you go. Globe My Business. I'm looking at you specifically. Come on.
So OJTPH is the matching platform for OJTs, because that's I sit on the technical working committee on the Commission on Higher Education for student internship. So that's one of the gaps that I could see that
and they're vital, especially for startups.
Right.
Oh my God.
And if you want to build an industry, you got to start it from the schools, right?
Correct.
So,
and when you build a team as well, it's hard to, I always say this, I've said this in several episodes already, that the way you build a team, you can't be just like the Lakers, acquire talent left and right. That's going to be very expensive.
Right.
You have to work from the draft. You hire an intern and turn them into a regular employee, and then eventually to make them an executive. Right.
So now, technically, what I've achieved with Spring Valley thus far is that I've got firepower in software.
Yeah.
Don't take it against me, but I also take in a little bit on the services contracts. It
Absolutely.
keeps me afloat,
Hey, that
right?
pays the bills. Right?
So I did a couple of work for Ayala and hopefully EduSuite. Shout out to EduSuite.
Shout out to EduSuite.
We're going to be doing some mobile work for them as well.
Right.
And then I wanted to share the Spring Valley experience to the rest of the country.
Got it.
Now, the unfortunate truth here, Ron, is that I've built firepower in terms of software. I've got my hardware shop. But then again, how do I now get the startups to come to the Valley, stay there, and go through their MVP and validation, and eventually go through the final stages before they actually take in investors and everyone. So I came up with a different approach.
Okay.
Now, majority of these startups, especially in the countryside, they've got very good ideas. Some of them are very, very highly skilled. They've got all the elements to succeed, but they're hungry. Now, the teachers will always approach them and say, don't let go of your dream. That's very unrealistic, because when you're talking to somebody who's very hungry, and when they go home, their parents are basically going to tell them, hey, you know what? You need to find a job because you have to send your sibling to school.
Correct.
And, I'm already
And
tired
I need
from
dialysis,
driving
whatever.
the jeepney, or, the roof needs repair, etc.
Easier said than done.
Right. So I said, maybe I need to address the funding part. So I'm launching by July.
All right, which is by this time, literally, this comes out the Monday after that's literally a few weeks after. July is going to be out. So, what are you launching July?
It's called Pilantropo.com, the very, very first Philippine philanthropic website. Okay.
Wow.
So when we talk about philanthropy, we're talking about the millions and billions and so on and so forth, right? But now I've cut it down to bite-sized pieces.
Okay.
So even for 500 pesos per year, we'll call you Pilantropo Magiting, right? For 5,000 pesos per year, we're going to call you Pilantropo Maharlika.
Wow.
And then for the corporate entities, we're actually asking for 50,000.
It's not bad. That's $1,000
And
bucks, right?
we're going to call you Pilantropo Makabayan.
Wow.
So I got a couple of people supporting this already. We've got Wacom. We got Payoneer. I think you bumped into them prior to this
Payoneer.
podcast. So,
Wow.
and then the key here is, the transactions have to be very, very transparent.
Absolutely.
Right? So I invited a very formidable board of advisors. One of the people who actually heeded the call already is Guillermo Bill Luz.
Oh, Bill Luz. My mom used to work for her.
Right.
Worked for him in Ayala
Yep.
Foundation. My mom worked for 17 years.
And then we've got Earl Valencia, who is the
Earl?
godfather of the startup
he's-
ecosystem.
Yeah, we've had him early in the podcast, I think episode 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's an honor to be part of the
Yo,
same.
season 1, you're an OG. So again, shout out to April Cuenca for hooking me up with to meet a JDL, because I didn't have an idea that this guy exists, man. I'm super blown away. Right.
And then we've got Dan Reyes, former IBPAP chairman for 2 terms actually, and then we've got my lawyer Bob Ginto from NMGRA Law, who is also the corporate secretary of IBPAP.
Oh wow!
So and then I'm packaging this into a roadshow called The Pitch.
The Pitch
stands for the Philippine Innovation and Technology Challenge, right?
There you go.
So we're going to go through 7 cities representing all the 82 provinces
Got it.
in the Philippines.
Okay.
And it's amazing,
Right.
I didn't know that I had the ability to actually map things out this well.
Yeah.
But if you could see, and pretty soon it's going to be on the website.
Right.
But this is the coverage, more or less.
Okay,
So
so
we're going
Davao,
to go Davao
CDO.
City on the 9th and 10th of August. So folks from Davao, and it's going to cover Davao del Sur, Oriental, Compostela Valley, South Cotabato.
Right. That
And then
region.
we've got Cagayan de Oro, August 13 and 14. San
Right.
Fernando in La Union on August 19 and
Northern
20.
Luzon,
We'll be
NCR.
in Manila for August 27, 28. And the Manila group the Manila leg is going to cover Pampanga, Bulacan, and Calabarzon.
Of course.
And then Legazpi for the Bicol region, including Palawan
Dude.
and Catanduanes. September 2 and 3 for Legazpi.
Right.
Cebu City on the 5th and 6th of September. And that covers Bohol, Samar, Leyte, Camiguin. And then Rojas City for Region 6 and
Dude, you
Negros.
covered this whole thing.
In fact, when I
Holy
showed this
shit.
to government, they were asking me, "Hey, could I borrow your template?" It seems like it's a very good coverage. Now, here's the kicker.
Right.
I'm promising founders, at least up to 4 founders per team. I'm promising them an allowance of about 60,000 per month.
A stipend.
And I don't give a shit what they're going to do with it. Send it to their families, buy a condo,
Right.
spend it all on beer.
Per
Hopefully
founder,
not,
up to 4.
Up to 4
60,000 pesos.
per founder.
Oh my God.
And then we'll give them free board and lodging in Spring Valley. And then we'll make them utilize the Spring Valley development team so that they could go into their minimum viable product. It's a 12-month program.
Yeah.
And hopefully this catches fire, because I think, this is going to give an opportunity to all the talented people.
I have a question though. How much equity are you going to get out of each?
A huge one. 0.
Holy shit.
I'm not going to get a single shareholding because I'm basically supporting you to build shit for yourself.
Wow.
What I'm going to ask for is something more significant. When you become successful,
paid for it.
pay for another team to come into the program. So it's like a student loan.
Got it. Paid for it. And that's you showed it on your deck. My mentor, my startup dad, Joji Azurin.
Yep, Joji is going to be part of this. Alvin Juban is also going to be a part of this. Jay Fajardo already said yes. Fam Alonto from Insular.
Right.
Hey, shout out to Fam.
Yep.
And then, of course, Carlo Calimon, Startup Village. Hey,
Yes.
the important lesson here is this. We're all competitors in one form or the other, Ron.
Correct. Yeah, you're running after the same market. Right.
We're all competitors, but we're all bonding together just to do a very significant push in creating and enhancing the startup ecosystem of the country.
Absolutely. This is so exciting. So you guys, if you listen, you heard that. That's a big, big boon because when I was starting out, my biggest, while I'm running my startup and trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do with that,
Yeah.
it's my survival.
Right,
How am I
right.
going to fucking survive
damn.
tomorrow, the week after? And I did that for a significant amount of time, at least 5 years.
Wow.
I had to do that.
Hats off to you.
Right. So eventually I just filled it out. Again, the reason why I got to this point is because I fucked up so much that eventually I have a fuck up book.
Right,
You know?
right.
I already
Right.
know what not to do. All right. Now let's talk about tips real quick. JDL, I want to ask you about tips on certain things that you highlighted during this episode. How do you look for opportunities? Because you always seem to be the right place at the right time. You know, the PSIA just came after your fucking link. And how it's not luck. I believe that luck comes with motion. But how do you look for opportunities to get, and which one do you say yes and no to?
Well, I always look at my mind is configured in such a way that I look at the mothership angle.
Got it.
So Spring Valley wants to do a lot of things for a lot of people.
Cool.
It comes in so many moving parts.
Right.
Pilantropo is addressing a very dire gap in terms of the entire ecosystem, which is funding. Right. So the way I think is it's always okay. Instead of just addressing one issue, how could I actually cast a wider net? And then it all stems from the fact that, you know, I live by a very strong principle that inspires all of my initiatives. If my only goal is to make money, then I don't think it's significant enough. So you gotta find something that is actually worth more than just, you know, enhancing your quality of life.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, I'm thankful that I'm one of the lucky ones. You know,
Yeah.
I grew up with a, you know, affluent neighborhood. You know,
Right.
I was afforded by my family to go into universities that I choose. And not a lot of our countrymen actually have that luxury.
True.
So now I think my entire life I've been trying to pay it forward without, you know, not in the absence of failure.
Right.
So some would actually say, you know, you're a little bit reckless. But honestly speaking, I don't care. As long as I believe in what I'm trying to fight for.
Right.
And it's actually bigger than, number one, bigger than my ego. And second, you know,
Yeah.
bigger than just, you know, the small circle around me.
Yeah.
Then maybe it's worth fighting for.
Absolutely. That's great. Now, I wanted to ask about networking and building relationships because, again, as you're doing this, you can't do it alone, right?
Right.
You have to have the right network. What would be your tips, or what's your secret, or what's your advice for people to build this type of network? Because, again, these opportunities you got just don't happen by accident. You have to have a really good network to be able to get this done. Because even if you have the skill set to get this done, without the right network, you're gonna get bad opportunities.
So luck, divine intervention, whatever it is that you want to call it, right? I was looking for a job. I got into IBPAP, which is right smack in the center of all of those things. And that was during the time that the trajectory of the entire IT BPM industry was just,
Right.
you know, we're experiencing 25% growth year on year, right? Don't be lazy, right? I would work Saturdays and Sundays if there were foreign investors coming in,
Absolutely.
even if it's for an hour or 2 hours. You know, speaking about Joji was telling me, hey, you know what? If you could hook me up with an investor for, you know, MedicServe and so on and so forth,
Right.
I'll fly right now. That's the kind of attitude
Correct.
that you have to possess. Hustle,
Exactly.
hustle, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
you know, you have to always be ready to do the pitch.
Right. And go out of your way.
And go out of your way, get out of your comfort zone. I live in a very beautiful place right now. My house is in front of a beach.
Wow.
I'm so happy. All my dogs are there. My wife has significant businesses in, she's got a bakery, she's got a bed and breakfast, she got a restaurant called Founders Food Bar.
Wow.
Right? And apparently I'm very comfortable there. But now, thanks to Pilantropo and the success that Spring Valley is experiencing, I need to go out and brave the streets of Metro Manila again. I don't even have property here anymore. I live in an Airbnb unit.
Yeah.
I go around and grab. Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even care, if people see me and say, hey, big bad president of the PSIA and the National ICT Confederation of the Philippines.
Right.
And he's, walking.
So what?
Right? So what?
Right.
I don't care. I got to do what I got to do. Talk to the people that I need to talk to. Just fairly recently for Pilantropo, I sent a couple of, Hail Marys. I sent a couple out there. I wrote Jaza. I wrote MVP. I wrote the Aboitises. I wrote Dado. And, maybe they'll answer, maybe they won't.
Maybe they will if they listen to this podcast by accident.
crazy enough. I'm the person crazy enough to actually send Zuckerberg messages over Facebook saying, "Hey, could you speak in a PSIA SoftCon this October?" I never got any answer back, but hell, there are those that actually responded, and I'm the better for it afterwards.
So you don't really lose anything.
Nothing.
It's just your ego that blocks the fucking way.
It's your ego, and it's the little bit of effort. The greatest opponent that you will have in the startup battlefield is yourself. If you start doubting yourself, then just go find yourself a freaking job, right?
Absolutely. That's my hook right there. That very sentence that you said is my hook for this episode. That was amazing. Now, JDL, I have a couple more questions before we end. How do you bounce back from failures? Because you said, it's not all fun and games all the time.
Right.
And you've had significant failures over time. How do you decide, all right, because sometimes I've seen, I myself, I was lucky because I was able to bounce back very easily. But if I had stayed in that dark place, it would have been worse because now doubt will creep in.
Right.
And I think, a lot of things that would have gone bad. But for you, how do you do that and how do you bounce back?
Well, very prime example is when I put up Kickoff Indoor Football Center. I basically put in everything that I had in there, thinking that I'm gonna put a chain of these football centers all over the Philippines, and I'm going to be a rich guy, and I'm going to be the the overlord
King of football here.
Right. I'm going to be the soccer god and so on. But and then after a few months, the burn rate was just so damn high.
Yeah.
A lot of nasty thoughts actually crossed my mind.
Right.
But then again, resiliency is directly related to selfishness.
Yes.
So if you're just thinking about yourself and saying, poor me, I lost so much, etc.
Right.
I'm going to be the laughing stock of society and so on and so forth. Screw that. Just throw that away.
Yeah.
Because my I always share this with people who would like to lend an ear. If you wake up tomorrow, you could still move your hands, you could still move your feet, you could still count 1 to 10.
Yep.
Then it means you still have unfinished business. So wake up, take a bath, brush your teeth, and work. That's the only thing. And then it also helps if you have responsibilities in life. I've got 2 kids. I got a wife. Right? So if I'm just going to be busy licking my wounds because I failed, how is that going to come across to these 3 people who mean the world to me? Right?
Absolutely.
So again, you wake up, you still have your faculties about you, then just do some work.
Okay. Now, last 2 questions. You mentioned about hustling, right? You said hustle, because you can't just be doing the same. I've this quote from Einstein that always insanity is doing one thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yep.
For you, how do you make sure that when you hustle, there's the desired outcome that you get, and what's your secret or your process to that way?
I was having dinner with a good friend of mine from the American Chamber last night. His name's Don Felbaum. One of probably the best people that you could hook
Shout
up
out to
with.
you,
Right,
Don.
So, and one of the things that we talked about is really the the threshold, right?
Yeah.
So, one thing I think that you need to ascertain is, he told me this. The beautiful thing about you, JDL, is that when you have a plan A, you already have a plan B, C, and D.
Right.
So you know how to pivot. In fact, in our world, in the startup community, there's no such thing as failure, right?
Yeah.
You just iterate.
Yeah.
You just
Failure,
pivot.
learn. You learn.
Right.
Right.
Right. So again, if you're going to back yourself up to a corner wherein you can't do anything else,
Right.
then the fault's really on you.
Yeah.
But again, it's very important. It's very important that you always have a backup plan, even in terms of iteration. The moment I'm already building a particular value proposition for a startup that I'm doing,
Right.
I already have a couple of backups thinking, what if it doesn't work?
Got it.
Right? And again, I've seen this in a lot of startups that I'm mentoring.
Right.
Work, hustle.
Yeah.
There's a very distinct difference between working hard and working smart.
What is it?
Don't just keep on pushing and punching air without actually a very good strategy.
True.
And that's the reason why we're building this community, and your podcast is helping build
Right.
the ecosystem as well. There are a lot of people out there who would like to offer their time and their experiences as well.
Absolutely.
So that you could avoid particular potholes. Make use of that. Don't believe in your own
Right.
bullshit.
There you go. Right there. Now, I'll ask you this, JDL. I've been asking this for the past few episodes, but I always get very interesting answers. If you were to give your younger self advice, what would it be?
Probably to take up a more technical course,
Okay.
because then now I'm learning on the fly.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that there are a lot of very generous mentors that are out there.
Yeah.
But if I knew that I was going to end up doing this and enjoying it in the process,
Right.
I would have taken up something like engineering or
Got it.
probably computer science or something.
Yeah. But are there any regrets though, looking back and whatnot? Or?
I've never had any regrets in my
Got it.
life. I'll take it, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Got it.
It builds who you are today.
Yes, character defining,
Right.
and whatnot, whatever it is.
Right.
All right. Thanks again, JDL. But please do invite people to again check out Philanthropo or anything else before we end the show. So do the shout outs that you want to do.
So the Spring Valley website is www.springvalley.tech. We're
Yep.
on Facebook as well, Spring Valley Technology and Innovation. And then watch out for philanthropo.com.
Oh man,
And
it's gonna be big.
hopefully, dig deep into your pockets
Right.
as well. It's not going to take much to actually help
Right.
change the landscape.
Yep.
And of course, you gotta support my good friend Ron here.
Thank you. Appreciate
Always
it.
hustling, always helping out. Thanks, Ron, for
I
having
was
me.
trying to pay it forward. That's what Georgie told me. What he told me was, if you ever make it, or if you ever become successful, don't pay me back. Pay it forward, and that's why this podcast exists.
Excellent advice. From
All
an
right. So
excellent
again,
person.
guys, thank you for listening to this. This is the second to the last episode of season 1. So again, in season 2, we'll be giving you a heads up of who we're gonna have next, because you now have an opportunity to ask the questions and even be part of the show when we record that very soon. But you need to go to our community, the Hustle Share community on Facebook. And if you do want to message us, please do message us at m.me/hustleshare powered by chatbot.ph. Again, JDL, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. And again, thank you. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.